Hello everybody and welcome to Tabletop Simulator. Today I'm going to be checking out a game called The Hunters. This is a game that is a solitaire game. You can play it all by yourself. Doesn't have a two-player option as far as I'm aware. I do have the game in my library, and there is an expansion to it. I guess it's a standalone expansion called The Hunted that goes beyond 1943 here. But on the workshop, the only one available is The Hunters. This is German U-boats at war. So in this game, you are a German U-boat captain, and you are trying to survive the war and, of course, sink as many tonnage of enemy ships as you can. So I'm going to be going over some of the rules of how to play, and you can get this rulebook online. Go to their website. You can download the second edition. I actually have the third printing in my library, and the book seems to be the same as the second edition here. So as a result, you can just get this and use this in your game and get it, put it in your desktop or something along those lines. Go to objects, components, go to custom, and then you can load the PDF, and then when you load the PDF you will be able to find your PDF file there, and make sure you right click, unlock it, drop it down on the table, and then position it how you would like to have it, and you can put it right over here maybe, and then we're going to lock it back in place. And from there, you can hit Alt to bring it up, and of course scroll through, and it's going to be a little darker, or you can right-click and pop out, and it'll be on the side here, and you can scroll through and read all of it, the various parts in a much brighter color. So whatever's most convenient for you. All right, so the other thing to mention here is you do need to have a worksheet to keep track of the tonnage sunk. It does not have it on this board here. This board is missing just a couple things, but nothing too serious. You can download that, and we're going to bring that up over here on the side. And you can see my Hunter's patrol log right here. So we're going to be using this to be able to keep track of our tonnage sunk. Alright, so before we get into that, we need to first get into our book here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the pop-out so that you can read some of this if you like. I'm not going to go through all this. Please feel free to read it and figure out the game for yourself. And we're going to take a start date of September here, September 1939. And here is where we can pick our different submarines. We can pick the Type 2A, the Type 2, or sorry, 7A, the Type 7B, or the Type 9A. And if we take the Type 7A, this boat was withdrawn from service in December of 1940. So if we're still sailing it, we get an automatic upgrade, which is really nice, because a lot of times you're stuck with the boat that you have, unless you get lucky and get it upgraded. So we're going to go ahead and do the Type 7A and then get the chance of the upgrade down the road. So to do that, what we need to do is get rid of this board right here. So first of all, we're going to toggle that, unlock it, and shrink it down by hitting the minus key on our keypad. And then I need to figure out where that goes. So that is Type 7C right here, so we're going to go ahead and drop that in. Should disappear in there. And here's the Type 2. We have our submarine, and we have our board. And the board might be just a little bit, it's pretty good size, I think, for that. But we'll make it slightly bigger, just for the sake of it. Hit the plus to bring it a little too big. Don't want it too big there. Okay. And we'll lock it in place, so that we can't pick it up. Alright, so here's our submarine here, and where the shadow is where that's going to fall. I'm a little bit of an angle here. I can go right above if it makes things a little bit better. This means we're in port. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to use this over here as well. Because usually in the game that I have, the actual board game, you have a submerged or surfaced option. This doesn't really have that. So as a result, I think the way I'm going to do it is put it down here if it's a torpedo, you know, under the surface, I mean. And we're just going to put it up here if I'm surfaced. That's probably the easiest way, I think, to handle that. Right now, I'm just sitting in port, so I'm going to go ahead and just be surfaced here. Alright, in port, we're going to have to first figure out what the name of our ship is and our leader, who is going to be me, of course. We're going to flip over to our screen here. And I'm going to go with the Type U-boat Type 7A. It's going to be the U-35 is what I'm going with. And you can find this over here in our sheet. We just pop this open here. Scroll all the way to the end, roll back a little bit, and you'll see right here. You can see the U-boat, historical U-boat IDs, and we're the Type 7A, so we're going to be U-27 to U-36. So we're going to go ahead and go with U-35. And just to bring up what U-35 is, I'm going to tell you what happened to them. U-35 was hit by a depth charge in November of 1939, so it didn't have a very long career. And it was scuttled. Luckily, all the sailors survived. They were picked up by the enemy ship that had depth charged them. So that was nice. Nobody died. And we'll see if we can live that long. I don't know their exact tonnage sunk. I could total it up. But it looks like they sunk right around 15... Let's see... well, maybe 13,000 tons. So not very much. They only had 2 patrols. And they sunk a couple fishing trawlers, it looks like, and, well, they didn't even sink one. One was damaged, 6,000 tons. So altogether, they probably just sunk about 7,000 tons of shipping. So I think we could probably do better than that. Of course, we may not survive very long either. Something bad could happen. We'll have to wait and see here. All right. Let's pop out here. All right, so if you're going to be setting up with this game, of course, there's quite a bit to read here, but you'll see it doesn't get too hard, and you can just refer to different parts as those parts come up. So we did select the U-boat type, the ID, the name is just Obsidia, Commandant Obsidia, Commander Captain Obsidia, and then we're going to have to load out our ship, and it shows you here how we're going to load that out. Right, let's go ahead and close that. So the weaponry and everything is right here. So we're going to have to fill up our deck gun. We have an 88 millimeter or 8.8 centimeter deck gun, and we got 10 of those. So we're going to go ahead and drop those in. Okay. Our flak gun is unlimited ammo. We do have 2 types of torpedoes, the Type G7A and the Type G7E. Now the best way to remember the difference between those is A is the one that you always see in the movies with the bubbles behind it, the steam torpedo, and G7E is the electric torpedo with no bubbles. But of course it's not as good as far as duds go, and later on in the war it gets better. But for now, we're going to be sticking with mostly steam. Now we get 11 total torpedoes, and we can mix it up by 1. So 6 steam and 5 electric, the G7As and G7Es. So we're going to switch that up to, first of all, we're going to load our front torpedo tubes with all steam. And our rear tube, our aft tube, we're going to load with a steam as well. And we get 1 more steam torpedo. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if we want to change that to 7, we can, because we can adjust it by 1. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to take the steam torpedo and flip it over, and then we'll have the electric torpedoes. Now there's 5 in the front reloads and 1 in the aft reload. So we don't have a lot of torpedoes, but it's decent enough, I guess, for what our purposes are. We need our hull damage chit, and we also need our flooding chit right here. And of course we don't want to sink. So moving all the way up to sunk is bad, and going to the surface could be bad as well. If we're flooding, we do have to blow our ballast and go to the surface and hope for the best, which is if there's an escort there, it's going to blow us out of the water. Alright, so next is we are going to be going on patrol, but of course we need to figure out what we are going to do. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of where we are here, I'll pop out so you can read that maybe just a little bit better. How to win the game, it says here and explains all the things you need to do. Basically, I would say survive to the end, but of course it shows you determining victory is how many tons you've sunk, a draw, a marginal victory, and a substantial victory, and decisive victory. So if you sink over 200,000 tons, you have a decisive victory. Alright, so it does tell you the play outline, what we have to do, and so forth. So we do have to conduct patrols, and it explains all about the patrols and how you're going to do that and what happens when you engage. And of course you're going to have all these little help things on your mat too. So it does say, for example here, combat versus escorted ships and so on. Alright, so the first thing we do is we are a... I'll show you here. Oh, I do need to get my rank. Okay, so here is the starting rank. On 1939, you start as a Capitan Lieutenant. It is automatic. Otherwise, you'll roll for it, because you can start whenever you want. So I need to get the Capitan Lieutenant, which is right here, and drop that into rank. And also my crew quality is going to be trained. Start off. That's always how you start, with the trained crew quality there. And you have no medals and no random events or anything like that. All of our things are operational. All right. Now we need to go and determine, next is our patrol. If you're wondering what the rank does, we can see here, whoops, right there, the commandant promotion. So it says here, the captain of the U-boat is the commandant that may hold various ranks. And of course, if the commandant dies, we die, because we are the commandant here. He has more influence with the U-boat command, and this has various impacts on gameplay. So the commandant ranks are as follows. So we have the lowest is the Ober Lieutenant. We're just going to call them by their English name here. The Captain Lieutenant allows a player to request a specific patrol assignment on a 1d6 roll of 1. If this occurs, the player might voluntarily choose his next patrol assignment from the U-boat patrol chart, unless permanently assigned to the Arctic or the Med. If we're sent to the Arctic or the Med, then we're stuck there. But if we are able to choose, then we're going to want to choose where we go, because we would prefer to stay in more lucrative areas for our patrols. Okay, so that shows you what our rank currently does. Okay, as you can see here, the next thing we have to do is to determine our patrol assignment, and it says consult U-boat patrol assignment P1. And here's P1 right here. You can see the P1 in the corner. And we are in 1939 to March 1940, so we're going to be rolling on this table right here. Of course, we can choose if we roll well. So let's go ahead and bring some dice over here. We'll drop some off here. And we do need to roll 2 of these. But we do get to roll 1, and if it comes up as a 1, then we can pick where we want to go. But it did not. We're going to go ahead and just roll these. Actually, these are not very bouncy, are they? Let's check the physics on them real quick. Close this down. Oh yeah, the mass is pretty heavy. That's not a big problem. Go ahead and just change that to 1, and bounciness is 0. That's why they're not doing anything. Let's try 0.5. We'll go ahead and take the 6, but for now, the 6 is the British Isles. We'll see if that bounces a little better. A little better. So we're going to go ahead and change all of those to a bounciness of 0.5. I'll change the physics to a 1. Okay, and we do have some more dice over here that we do as well. A little bit of bounciness gives us a little bit of tension, I think. We don't want them falling like bricks. Alright, we did roll British Isles, and you can see here British Isles. And it does say that some information about the type 7D, but we're not doing that. So we're going ahead and rolling on the British Isles. So to do that, we need to go over to our sheet here. And first thing we do is select our patrol, and we're going to drop down to the British Isles. That shows that where we're going. Okay, back over here. And we're ready to depart. We don't need any of the crew status. Everyone's perfectly okay. There's no problem. So all we need to do for the British Isles is first we're going to go into transit. Now the 3rd edition printing actually has a map, which is kind of nice, and the map shows you where you are, where you're going, and if you want to see where the Bay of Biscay is or so on, you can actually look it up online. But the older editions just have this little bar here that you transition across. So you can assume that we are kind of transiting out of France across the Bay of Biscay. We will transit up towards the British Isles, and then we're kind of rolling around the British Isles. We are coming back across the sea, and then we're going through the Bay of Biscay. Now, we're going to be departing here. And the Bay of Biscay is well known for aircraft and the problems with aircraft hunting U-boats, since it is a little bit shallower. The U-boats were more likely caught on the surface, and as a result, that was a little bit of a riskier place. And we can see over here on the encounter chart, the Bay of Biscay does have an aircraft in 3 different slots here, which is, of course, never a good thing. whereas the regular transit only has 2 with the chance of even finding a ship out there somewhere. Okay, so, or a random event as well. All right, so we are going to be departing now and heading into the Bay of Biscay. We do have our British Isles set up here. And let's get underway. Okay, welcome back. You can hear diesel engines spinning up from Silent Hunter 3. Alright. Get a couple of these dice over here on the encounter chart. Yeah, see, they're a little bit bouncy, aren't they? They like to roll. Alright, since we start here in the British Isles, we are going to go into the Bay of Biscay right here, and we need to roll 2d6. And if we roll a 2 or less, or a 3 or 4, well, we can't roll 2 or less unless we're over the Bay of Biscay in 1942, which means there's, of course, more aircraft hunting us. We'll go ahead and roll this and see what we come up with here. No airplanes, please. 6 means nothing, so that's fine. We run into nothing. We are more than happy to move into the transit location. Now, the transit right here, it says if we do encounter a ship, it is a special rule, and we will go down here. The first natural 12 results in a random event. Ignore the encounter result and roll a random event. So this is the first 12 encounter. Random events do not apply when rolling for additional rounds of combat and may only occur once for a given patrol. You can only get a random event once. After that, it turns into a ship. So let's roll this. And we got a random event. All right, so roll 6-6. During the patrol, roll a random event, and this is the R1 table. The R1 table is right here. It says up the top, roll 2d6. So we're going to go ahead and take a couple red die here. Copy it and paste another one there. All right, and we're going to roll this and see what happens to us. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. A 4. Gyro compass failure. The gyro compass fails. Roll on a repair on a roll of 1 or 2. Adjust for an expert. We don't have an expert. If the roll fails, your boat must immediately abort its patrol. That is never a good thing. All right. Repair on a 1 or 2. Come on, let's get lucky here. And we rolled a 6. So our repair roll fails. We must immediately abort the patrol. So now we are aborting. Unfortunately, we have a systems failure, and we are going to need to abort. Now let's see if I can find the abort really quickly here. All right, here, the abort. It says certain results require you to abort your patrol as a direct result of damaged systems become inoperable, as specified on the U-boat damage repair chart. So we do have an inoperable system, and it is our gyro. It is not even here under miscellaneous. This is just something that we have to return to port for immediately. To abort the patrol, immediately place the U-boat marker in the nearest transit box space and roll for an encounter normally. So it says, and roll for an encounter normally. Continue moving towards your home base, rolling for encounters in each transit box until you reach the base. Note, the U-boat can move backwards on the track if the nearest transit box is located where it initially embarked. If the U-boat, okay, let's see. We can always, Commandant can always abort. And that's pretty much it. So we have to place it in the nearest transit space and roll for an encounter normally. So the nearest transit space would be the one we're on. That is the nearest one because we're right on it. So we do have to roll for an event as we have sit there and tried to repair. We are still in transit, so we are going to roll that again. And nothing has happened. So now we're going backward, trying to get back. We're going to roll in the Bay of Biscay now as we return to port. That is a 12, but there's nothing here. And does have a little 1 there, and that 1 says the random event, of course. But we've already done it, so nothing's going to apply because there's no ship there. It would be if we were rolling it up here, but here there is no ship. So it just says apply standard encounter result on the table instead, which is nothing. So otherwise we would have run into a ship. And now we're rolling back into port again. And on here, we have nothing. We've completely failed this mission, which is never a good thing. So we're going to fill that out in just a second. Okay, so now we are back in port, and we are going to mark this as a failure. So because we failed this, we can use one of these end boxes here to write F. We need to sink something. So this was a failure. You can blame it on our captain, you can blame it on the circumstances, but we have failed. We need 3 successes to be able to try to get some chance for promoting our crew and so forth. And the failure is never a good thing to start off with. Here you can see when a patrol is completed, the U-boat undergoes refit. So it does need to refit, the crew needs to take a break, and crew injuries need to be dealt with and so forth. And it says the base minimum for refit is 1 month. We add to this an additional month of refit for 3 or more inoperable systems. Add this 1 additional month for each increment of 3 or fraction thereof of hull damage sustained. So for each increment of 3, if any kind of hull damage is going to add extra time to us. So we're going to be an R as well to place for the refit that we have to put in there. So in the next month, as we can see here, oh, I didn't switch the screen there, sorry about that. We're going to be putting an R here for our refit. There we go. And yeah, you can read about this right here on page 16. It says every U-boat automatically spends a minimum of 1 month. That's where we are. Now, we don't have any hull damage. The length of the refit can vary based on the amount of hull damage. We have no hull damage. We'll worry about that later. We placed an R there, just as it said, and now we are finished with our refit. So that wasn't too bad. Nothing too spectacular with our first incursion into submarine warfare. Came back with a broken gyro. So I guess you could look at it 2 ways. Our crew lived, but we didn't do anything except just run out there and break our ship. That's never a good thing, right? All right. Well, it is done. What is done is done. And now we are going to move on to our next mission. Hopefully this one's a little bit better. Again, we are going to roll to see if our commandant can pick where to go. And he cannot. So we're going to go ahead and roll this and come up with a 7, which again is the British Isles. So we are going back to our sheet here, and we're going to bring up the British Isles one more time. They believe in us. They're sending us back out to the British Isles. Right. Can live with that. Our ship is still totally functional with everything we've got. We don't have to switch any loadout. Nothing's wrong. We just fixed that gyro. The inoperable gyro there. Gyro compass. Can't figure out where we're going if we don't have a compass, I guess. And we are going to be on our way here one more time into the Bay of Biscay. And we did have that written down. And of course, if we do find a target, we're going to be listing them here. And if we damage them, we're going to use a negative on this sheet that does calculate our tonnage sunk. Right, and we are underway one more time into the Bay of Biscay. Hopefully there are no aircraft coming. And an 11 is good enough to avoid the random event. Onward. In transit. Got this far last time. And a 7 is enough to get through the transit. Hey, hey! We are now hunting. Alright, so now we're in the British Isles. So here we're going to roll on this table right here. Alright, a 3. We have seen nothing. We're going to continue on. Hunting some more. 4 is nothing. Wow! We are having no luck with our boat. U-35 is an 8. An 8, we do see a ship finally. Hey, hey! Alright, so what is this ship? Well, first of all, if we look over here, we do need to figure out this information right here. So as you can see, combat versus escorted ships and so forth, we need to figure out this. But first, we do want to figure out what this ship is. And over here, we will roll right here. Day or night? First of all, what is it? It is daytime. So we're going to go ahead and see that this is flipped to day right here. Now we need to see what kind of ship it is. Please be a tanker. We need something big. And we roll on that determines ship size. Hey, it is actually a tanker. Wow. All right. So, to get the tanker, we pull off the tanker here, and we will put it on the target location. Now, as you can see for the tanker, it depends on how big it is how much damage we actually have to do to it. We need to do 3 or 4 hits. So as we damage it, we will move it down here until it is sunk. Okay. And then we're going to find out what the tanker actually is. So down here we will have a large freighter. Large freighter, where is my tanker? There's the tanker. So we roll a D100 and we can see actually what this ship is. So let's go ahead and bring these dice over here. I'm going to roll these and see. This is a 3. So this is an 8,500 ton, the British Influence. So what we're going to want to do is make sure that we write this into our chart here. Whoops. That we have an 8,500 ton tanker that we have spotted. All right. It is unescorted because it is a single ship. As we can see when we rolled over here, it was a single ship, the number 8, sailing all by its lonesome. All right, so we are running in the daytime, and that's fine. We can run in surfaced. There's nothing it can do about us. We would like to try to sink it. 8,500 ton means we have to do 3 damage to it to sink it. So we need to make sure that we have a 3 damage. So we're going to go ahead and close the range on him. We can go close range. And that will determine some of the effects of the damage if we roll. The close range, for example, you can see here we need to roll to hit. Here's our deck on our torpedoes and so forth. We are at the very end of our patrol here. So we're going to fire deck guns. We can only fire 2 shots at him, so we're going to fire 2 shots at him. And any torpedoes, so we want to get some hits. So we're going to go ahead and fire, let's fire 2 steam torpedoes and let's get him in the first round. They can call for help or escorts can show up. So we're going to fire 2 steam torpedoes and 2 deck gun shots at this tanker to see if we can take him down. I think that's good. So it's daytime, yeah. And range is close. Alright, so the way we're going to do this is first we're going to resolve our 2 deck gun shots. So we're going to bring this die over here, copy it, paste it. Alright, so we can see here that this is the die roll modifiers. The minus because we can get close and surprise them, but they see us coming. We have no pluses here, it's no second salvo. Torpedoes are not at medium range or anything along those lines. We're not even using G7s, we're using G7A, or A's, not E's. We do have to worry about the dud torpedo if they hit. And we're just rolling straight up. So 8 or less on the roll for the deck gun is a hit. And the medium range, or sorry, and the torpedo is going to be the same thing, actually. So we are going to be rolling this 4 times for the deck gun. So we'll fire, or 4 times, 2 times for the deck gun, 2 times for the torpedoes. So let's fire off our deck gun a couple times here. It was like too close together, right? Maybe we need to do it. There we go. There's 2 shots off. All right, let's roll and see if we hit. The first shot is a miss. The second one is a hit. So we can go ahead and resolve that damage for the deck gun. And here we just roll a single die 6 for the deck gun damage right there. And that is a 2, which is 1 damage. All right, so we have inflicted 1 damage here. And we can drop our ammo off there. So we did do a little bit of damage to the enemy. So I can make some sound here, maybe. Alright, yeah. A little bit of sound effects for you guys. Okay, we do have 2 steam torpedoes in the water, and those torpedoes are traveling towards their target. So we will need to roll for the hits here. So the first torpedo is a 7, which is a hit, and we got to make sure it's not a dud. If I roll a 1 or a 2, it is a dud. So it is not a dud, so it has hit the target as well. Alright, and then we are going to roll the damage here. It is a 4, which means it did 1 damage, so we've got 2. We need to get 1 more damage from our last torpedo. We're not having a lot of luck with our damage right now. Okay, here we go. Our last torpedo is an 11, which is a miss. So the 2 steams are gone. Alright, so we have not sunk him. He is damaged, and we can stay with him, but we have not sunk him. So, we have assigned the torpedoes. We have fired all the torpedoes. Did we check for a dud? I think, oh, we didn't have to because it didn't even hit. I was going to see if it was a dud anyway. It was not. Oh, well. Okay, and now, there's no escort. So the undetected U-boat, and we are detected, but we can try to extend our combat. So let's see, to do that we need to make sure we stay with the enemy. And we can see that right here. If for whatever reason an unescorted target was not sunk during the initial round of combat, I wonder why it was not sunk. We just terrible. The player may choose to initiate an additional round of combat. To do so, reload if you have reloads, any torpedo tubes, and roll on the additional combat table on the encounter chart. If the result of escort is escort, the target ship is now considered to be under escort, and the escort detection is resolved immediately, regardless of what range the U-boat is to the target. If the U-boat avoids this detection, it still must check for escort detection again for the new round of combat. If the result is aircraft, we must abort the attack, dive immediately, and resolve the aircraft encounter, because the aircraft will drive us off. So, we are going to need to resolve the escort situation here. Let's see, where is that chart? It did say E1, correct? Let's see, the E1 chart. Now, where is my E1 chart here? E4, E2... Yeah, E1. Here's the E1 chart. And additional rounds of combat right here. So we do need to roll for this. So this is a little bit tense, but we are going to stay with him. And that is a 7, so he's still unescorted. And we can see here that there's no limit to the number of additional rounds the combat the U-boat may pursue against unescorted targets. However, once escorts appear, no additional round of combat can be attempted following the round they appear. Instead, refer to following escorted ship or convoy. So we're just staying with him as long as possible. Now, I believe we can switch this to night if we wanted to, but we're not going to. We're just going to stay in the daytime and keep hammering away at him. So we will reload the torpedoes. Why don't we put some electric in there to reload it. Since we're at close range, this is a good chance to finish him off. We're going to go ahead and fire 2 deck guns, and we're going to fire both of our electric torpedoes at him. We want this guy to go down. We need to get a hit here. So let's first fire, and even if you sink him with 1 shot, you still use all of these. So we're going to go ahead and fire off our deck gun again at him. And over here, we can see our deck gun. Their first shot away. And that is a hit. 2 and 5, 17. That's a cocked die. You can just mouse over. So that is a hit. And we are going to roll that. A 4 is 1 more damage. And ladies and gentlemen, we have done 3 damage to him, which is how much we need to sink this enemy ship. Yay! He is going to be going under. Alright. So we have sunk that tanker. So what we need to do now is go over to our sheet here. Yes, and we will change this to minus 8,500. And now, hopefully you can see, we now have tonnage sunk. It says minus 8,500. And that will make our mission a success when we finally get back to port. Alright, and he's under, so we do lose our torpedoes here, but that's okay, and our deck guns, even though we didn't need it, did sink him. So, alright, that is a successful run. Now we are going to be moving in transit. Alright, in transit now, watching out for enemy aircraft or random events again. A 9 is no problem. We are now in the Bay of Biscay. And that is a 6, no problem. And we are now pulling into port after a successful mission. Let's go ahead and bring this up and put an S there for success. And if we roll down here, we can see it says successful patrols 3. I'm not sure why that is. We have failed patrols. I'll have to figure this out. We have 2 patrols, 1 ship sunk, only 1 success. Not sure why this is adding up this. Unless I put a 0 there, maybe. Counting it? No, counting it as successful because we've... maybe it assumes we've sunk something. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It's some bug in it, maybe. But we only have 1 success there. Right, and we are now back in port. Hey, welcome back to port. Our Type 7A, the U-35, has pulled back in without any problem. So we are repairing and refitting, although we don't have to worry about that so much. We will replace our lost torpedoes. And that's all. So we do have one successful mission, as we can see over here. We have one success and one failure. We need 3 successes before we can get a chance to promote our crew or anybody along those lines. And we have sunk a nice sized tanker, so that is a good thing. All right. In our next mission, we have no idea where we're going yet. But hopefully we'll go somewhere and we won't have so much poor luck in our hunt. Thanks for joining in this episode. No real risk to our crew except for a random event. And we're going to keep chugging along, and hopefully we will be able to do a little bit better next time around. However, I'm happy to sink a tanker. Take care. See you in the next episode of The Hunters.